Right.
It looks very similar.
Worst part is I actually kind of like it. And a very piney taste to it.
Oh, there it is. Warm gin time again. When you're ready, go ahead and count us off.
All right. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's once again time for One More Last Time. I'm Chadwick Von Doom, and this is Joshua Lee Johnson.
40 the hard way, big brother. All right, let me get my warm gin pull here.
We thought we were drinking vodka. Turns out we're drinking gin because we're dumb.
Well, we're just... Yeah, dumb. But that's good gin, really. Very piney taste to
Very
it.
piney, smooth.
So that should give you a feeling of what you're in for with this next installment, which is going to revolve around the band Sleep. Now, Sleep has been classified as a doom metal band, or more accurately, in my opinion, a stoner metal band. Now, Chadwick, why don't you give the outline for this particular episode?
We're going to take a look at their third record, Holy Mountain, and we're going to compare it to their most recent record, The Sciences.
And these are both great starting and ending points, really, because in my opinion, I think they sum the band up and whatever stages they were in their growth and everything else. Probably the reason why we're going past Dope Smoker, otherwise known as Jerusalem, is that is a whole, that's not even a whole other island, that's a whole other nation. And it's been dissected to death, and everything that's already been said about it is true. It's an hour-long song. It's a journey. It revolves around a pot-smoking caravan going across the desert, and that's really about all you need to know about it. But so we'll start off with, well, you know what, Chadwick? I say we switch it up a bit here and go backwards and start out with The Sciences, because that's where my notes start. And that's kind of how I went with it.
And that's where I didn't take notes. So this ought to be good.
This ought to be great. All right, so since you didn't take notes and this was your suggestion to do the episode on this, what are your initial opening thoughts?
I think it's heavy.
Yeah, I think we could probably end the podcast on that. It's heavy.
Done. Print it.
And that's pretty well it. I suppose
Well, the first track's like an instrumental, right?
it's an instrumental. It's a feedback noise for
Yeah,
3 minutes.
Yeah, and it really sets the tone. It really sets the tone for what you're going to get.
And my exact notes for that were The Sciences. An electric drone that somehow works for 3+ minutes. In fact, the funny story about that was when I was researching this last night, giving one last final listen, my kid was up, and she was doing homework, or what she calls homework or whatever, doing some math problems, and I hit play, and about 2 seconds into it, she jumps up, "Daddy, what is that?" I went, "Oh, sweetheart, that's sleep." "Don't do that, that's scary." Yeah, so that about sums it up. A feedback electric drone squall that can scare a 10-year-old, but like you said, it sets the tone, and you pretty well know what you're in for after that. So, we'll go to track 2 then.
Track 2. The Marijuana Knots theme. When I first heard this, I just started cackling.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the fact that it's an astronaut, a stoned astronaut.
The marijuana knot.
Is probably the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, and once again, if The Sciences set the audio tone for it, the marijuana knot set the theme for it. You see that title, it's like, okay, there's no mystery of what we're in for. And if there was even a shred of mystery, my first note for that was bong hit intro. Okay.
Hey, I've heard that before in plenty of songs.
Yes.
And I'm good with it.
I'm okay with it. I mean, if you're going to do it in any song, it would be that. I just thought, all right, great, a bong hit intro. All right, well, I didn't predict that or anything. So, all right. So, bong hit intro, and then my next note was drone. And then the note after that is, but I'm sucked in. And my thoughts after that were the vocals sound cleaner on this album than they did on Jerusalem.
You mean Holy Mountain?
Oh, I mean Jerusalem.
Oh, I guess I didn't even listen to that one to compare.
Once you listen to Jerusalem, it doesn't leave. That's the whole problem, because there's maybe 6 words in the entire song, but you can remember every damn one of them. And Al's voice in that one just sounded like, well, he had smoked a pound of weed out of a coconut.
I enjoy Al's voice.
It works for that.
It
for
works
sure.
on all their stuff. It's great.
But yeah, I noticed that his vocals sounded a lot cleaner. And the last thought I had about this was, this is the soundtrack to a journey, and that's the goddamn thing. Is you put this album on, you're only into track 2.
Well, really, they're all a soundtrack to a journey,
as I would find out further listening. But I discovered that even by track 2, it was like, okay, I'm into this. I'm not going anywhere. There's no pausing this. There's no stopping this. There's no going back tomorrow to visit this. I'm in here, and this is where it is. And I suppose other thoughts I had just about track 2 were, the most obvious statement is this is music made by stoners for stoners.
Well, I think that's a very limited statement.
Okay,
I don't think they're just stoners, right?
No, they're not just stoners.
When I think of just stoners, I mean there's other people who come to mind that
sure,
it's very spiritual as well. I think Al and his other band Ohm, kind of elaborates more on that. It's a spiritual journey,
right? And
I hate to sound cliche,
no,
and like a hippie, but they take that hit to open your mind up,
and that's what this whole thing does. I mean, Matt Pike, by his own admission, he in one interview talked about him and his girlfriend copping cocaine one night and getting real high. So no, it's not just exclusively pot for him, but this particular music. You're not going to do a grandma blow and decide to listen to sleep.
Oh, no.
You would lose patience after 2 seconds.
I do want to point out that I listened to both of these, and I was not under the influence of anything.
Right.
I just want to point that out.
And good for you. I
also want to point out that I listened to both these records for a whole week straight while I was doing things like cutting the grass.
Right.
And while I was at work. And while I was driving home from work, and mostly because, like you said, you got sucked in and drawn in,
right?
And I got lost in it, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what did I just listen to?" And then I would have to listen to it again.
And that's going to be my final thought on both of these albums. Really is, I guess to put pot into the conversation just seems like just too easy, but it really is, because the impression that I got from listening to both these albums is it's very much like a good high, whether any kind of high you can imagine, that when you're there, you're into it, you can't do anything about it, you got to ride it out, and you come off it, you feel satisfied, but you immediately forget what it felt like, so you got to go back and do it again. That's what, to me, it's like listening to the Sciences is.
So, an interesting thing about this, to me at least, because I'm a fan. I'm not a huge fan. I'm a fan, though.
Sure.
I really enjoy Sleep. I like what they do. I like what it sounds like.
Right.
I used to not.
Right. I see that.
I used to be all pissed off about Heschers and things like that, and then I mellowed out a little bit about it. I'm like, you know what? I get it. I see where they're coming from.
Right.
So one of the things about this record is that it dropped on 420.
Of course it did.
Yeah, but to me, and maybe I'm just ignorant in the music, scene and side of things, because I'm kind of withdrawn a little bit. But it was a surprise. Like, nobody knew Sleep was dropping a record.
They very much did that deliberately.
Oh, of course. I mean,
there was no notice, and all of a sudden, Sleep has a new album.
Yeah, and then they toured on it, and they announced that they were, a band still, because they disbanded for a little while.
Yeah, Matt had High on Fire.
And High on Fire is great.
Hell yes, absolutely.
A lot of people say he's the American Lemmy. I just don't see it.
I don't either, because Lemmy was rock and roll, plain and simple. Whereas Matt Pike is fucking metal.
Matt Pike is something else.
I don't see Matt Pike playing Louie Louie, though.
That's true.
You know, Lemmy is Lemmy and Matt Pike is Matt Pike.
Well, Matt Pike is definitely stepping in the shoes of Black Sabbath.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The further I delved into these albums, there's no getting around
Well,
that.
first of all, let's point out that track 5 is called Giza Butler.
Or Giza Butler, but
Come on, Geezer Butler.
Well, yeah, they make no apologies for that, and that's good.
And also, Marijuana Not, some of the lyrics, you have things such as Planet Iomia. I think it's cool.
I did this.
But you also have phrases such as Asteroid Field. Again, I'm not knocking it because I think this is a jam.
No, not at all.
And then we've got there's a description of being in space, and it says, you know, your smoke suit is your home.
Smoke suit.
Smoke suit.
Thank you, God.
The astronaut's suit is his smoke suit.
Jesus, I thought Weedian was bad.
Oh, it's awesome.
Fucking love these guys even more.
Through the iomosphere.
Iomosphere.
Yeah. Come on, it's awesome.
Well, yes, it is. Of course it is. But I didn't even clock any of that. That's great. All right, so back to track 2. I think we pretty well. Oh yeah, track 2. More of my stream of consciousness notes. Drums are much more active than on Dope Smoker, which of course they are.
Oh, it's a different drummer.
Right? Didn't that drummer, the original drummer, join a monastery or something, become a monk?
That could be a true statement.
I think it is. And then let's see.
Which is rather fitting if you think about it.
Well, of course.
You know, if you want to think of the spiritual side of this music.
Well, come on. They wrote an entire album about a caravan of weed smoking fucking monks going across the desert. For whatever reason, I don't know, so that would make sense.
Which is cool to me, and also, which is even more badass, is they made an action figure of the Dope Smoker.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
What?
They made it in like 4 colors, and it's awesome, and it's expensive, and I would love to have them.
I'm going to say, why do you not have this? You collect useless shit like this. I mean,
Hey, action figures are not useless.
All right. Fair enough. So, I don't know. I don't even have my Slash action figure anymore. I gave that to my stepson.
Hey, I think I still have mine. No, I sold mine. Never mind.
Right. All right. So it did have a use. So that's the thing is your hobbies make you money. Mine don't. And that's fine. All right. And then the last note I had on this song was very much a Sleep signature of, I think it said is, they just snuck that solo in there. You ever notice that about Sleep? You get lost in their drone.
Yeah, you got a real trancy drone thing feeling.
And then all of a sudden, Pike comes right in.
Hits you with some guitar.
Yep. Those are my thoughts on Marijuana Not, or the Marijuana Nots theme. So, track 3, Sonic Titan.
It sure is a Titan.
You fucking right. What were your notes on that, if any?
Well, that's one of those songs where it's mostly music. It's mostly that groove.
That was a lot of that album, though, dude.
It feels like you're in an ocean.
I thought outer space, but
yeah, weightlessness.
A very thick outer space.
Thick outer space, yeah.
My first thought on Sonic Titan was Tony Iommi became the Iron Man he wrote about and crushed the Earth.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
And then the next one was, this riff is insane, sedated genius. And that's how I felt about it. It just was so plodding and meandering, but my God, it just somehow kept its momentum, however slow it was.
Yeah, they have a real way of making something you would think was boring, not boring.
That's exactly right.
Well, like I said, I listened to this completely sober and not under the influence, and I thought it was great.
See, and that's
not boring.
See, and this is where I think we're going to have our final point, because I listened to it in the exact opposite state of mind and thought the same thing. One part of my mind was saying, Jesus Christ, is this ever going to end? And then the other part of my mind is going, you're not going anywhere. This is fucking brilliant. But then the next thought was bass solo, and then This is just otherworldly.
Yeah, one thing to be said about Al's bass playing, that dude is a monster.
Fucking right he is.
His tone is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
His playing is awesome.
And I generally don't like distorted bass.
Oh God, is it? It's
but it works.
Yeah, it works. If you want to compare anyone to Lemmy, that would be the guy. But there's a lot of like you could hear his Geddy Lee influences in there.
There's Rush in there.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Here's a fun fact.
What do you got?
Rickenbacker just released a signature bass of his.
I saw that.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, how
that they were like, hey, we should give this guy a signature bass.
Of all the people,
of all the bands in the world,
did Chris Squire ever even have a signature bass?
I have no clue.
And that's all he ever played.
Right. Same with Lemmy.
Yep.
I mean, I know I don't think they released a legit Lemmy signature bass.
Okay.
But I know they made some.
Right.
They may have been limited edition, but it blows my mind that they're like, and it has
of all people.
And so he, as an artist, actually had input on the instrument. So he did a little drawing and sent him notes and stuff. And the thing has green fretboard inlays.
Of course it does.
That they decided they wanted to do.
Right.
It's awesome. I want one.
Of course you do. Which you should get one.
Hey, don't have that kind of money.
Nor do I. But okay, let's see. The next thought that I had regarding this song was the main riff is the hook. And that's the damn thing is I could even hum the damn riff to you, but all I know is this whole time I'm listening to this whole thing, I just kept waiting for that main riff to come back. And I recognized it every time it did.
Right, because it feels like the whole time you're listening to it.
But somehow that main riff would come back. And the damn thing is, it was always when you least expected it. Like you were trying to pick up when it would happen. And it surprised you every time. That's why, to me, that was the hook.
Yeah, it definitely ebbs and flows like an ocean.
Yes. Or a spacescape.
Or your marijuana knot in space.
Yep. And then, let's see, the next thought was another guitar solo. Is Pike finger tapping? Yeah, at one point, he's diddly.
I guess I did not pick up on that one.
That one jarred me right out of the haze. Like, holy shit, he's finger tapping. And then the last thought I had on this song was, how do they write and remember all of this?
That's a pretty damn good question because it's. I wonder if it's just mostly freestyle jamming.
Sure.
A loose structure, kind of give the old head nod when it's time to move to the next part.
Right, and I'm sure, and I could definitely see that. But here's the thing: they've gone out and played this shit live.
Oh, I'm sure they have, but
How do they remember it?
I bet you it's different every time, a little variable on something.
It's got to be because there is no way you are droning that fucking E chord for 20 minutes.
Oh, of course, they're not Sun.
And exactly, and I think that's where Sleep kind of rises a bit above all that because somehow they have a hook like that riff we talked about.
They move around a little more.
Right, but yeah, that was the whole thought that I had at the end of that song was how the fuck are they remembering?
Oh, I'd love to write music like that. You have like 3 or 4 solid parts and you just jam on it.
See, and that to me is fun to listen to.
You can improv. Well, hence it's fun to listen to this.
All right, but that's also coming from someone who can actually play an instrument and I can't. I'm a vocalist. I'm bored.
Right, and they are a power trio.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all playing something.
They're all doing something.
All right, I'll give you that. Okay, so track 4 then, Antarctican's Thawed. A great title.
Oh yeah, it paints a great image in your mind.
It does.
Like, what is an Antarctican?
So now my first thought on this was that one chord is the sleep anchor. That one chord that you had to point out to me was the E chord.
Most likely an open E chord.
That is their anchor. It's in every goddamn song. It was the entire Jerusalem album. It's the whole thing. That's their anchor. If they had a hook in the previous song, then that chord is the anchor. And then my second thought on this was the vocals are a disembodied head navigating through the outer space ghetto. that's how I feel when I listen to Al in this album. Is he's a disembodied head, and he's guiding you through a ghetto, only it's in outer space. You don't feel real safe there. You feel kind of uneasy about being there, and you have no choice but to listen to this guy tell you all about it.
That is very interesting.
All right. That was just my thought.
I really like the way the man says Matterhorns when he sings this song. So
funny how you mentioned that, because the next line I had was Glaciers Fall, and I wrote right after that, hey, a link to the title. And that was about all I got out of that. And then let's see. My last thought was this is the audio equivalent of I can't even ride through this. Oh yeah. This is the audio equivalent of being trapped driving through a whiteout blizzard.
Yeah, if you look at the lyrics, it kind of references the the previous track, the Titan.
All right.
That's like you're at a base of a mountain on Titan.
Ah, I see. Okay, so it's not Titan. All right, I gotcha. But yeah, that's how this felt to me. It was just like that horrible feeling that if you're from North Iowa, you know what it feels like to drive through a whiteout blizzard at night.
Oh, yeah, you definitely know the kind of cold this guy's talking about.
Yes, and the lack of vision, the sensory deprivation, really, even, of you have to keep going forward as slow as possible, and you're going nuts, going that slow, but you have to keep going forward, and you're just looking around the whole time, hoping something opens up, something changes, there's a clearing, and there's not. Not in this song. You are going through this whiteout until the end.
Were you under the influence while listening to this?
Depends on what influence.
Any influence.
No, the influence.
Fair enough.
I took notes, all right? I took notes.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Know what I mean?
And then some. But, yeah, I had to get in the headspace, and that's what it felt like. Driving through a whiteout blizzard that you're white-knuckling going, oh, God, please just let this be done. I got to stop. But you can't stop. That's the whole thing. You don't pull over. You don't quit driving. You keep going until the bitter fucking end.
Yeah, I really dig your analogy on that.
Well, like I said, I just wrote what I was thinking, whether it made sense or not, and now it's starting to make sense. All right, so are we on to track 5, or do you have any other thoughts?
No, like I said, I did very sparse notes on this,
Right.
Because I had to stop and re-listen to it so many times.
I just dove in once.
I found myself lost in every track.
Well, if
not lost in a bad way, but just submersive.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed music listening to this.
I love the way you put that. I really enjoyed music listening to this, because that's a lot of how it felt. I'm trying to write down stream of consciousness thoughts or whatever the hell, and more often than not, probably because the songs are so goddamn long, but I just got lost in it.
Yeah,
and that's the brilliance of it.
Like I mentioned before, I'm trying to listen with new ears to things and stop trying to think like a musician and think more like a guy who likes music.
Yep.
And I think that's why I'm drawn to sleep, because I can just kind of like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, it's Get Lost in it.
Yeah.
All right, so next track was how do you pronounce it? Giza?
No, it's definitely how Ozzy would say his name, Giza Butler.
But there's no town called Giza. There's a town called Giza. The guy's a strip.
I don't care.
Okay, fine, Giza Butler.
Hey, whatever. We're in the fictional smoke-filled land.
Still floating in space.
No, I think we're on we might be on a planet by now.
Oh, we made it to a planet.
Possibly. We might be on Titan.
Well, that would explain the whiteout blizzard to get to your destination. Okay, so
possibly.
Giza Butler. All right, my first thought was clean intro, floating in space. Let's ride. And then the next thought was this sounds like battle fatigue. And after that, this is my overall favorite. This was my overall favorite of the album.
You know, I might lean that way also.
Okay.
And so let's talk about some of the lyrics.
Okay. Give me the lyrics. I don't know.
I'm not going to I'll just give you some phrases that I picked out.
All right.
I really enjoy that they do not hide that Black Sabbath influenced them.
No.
They don't hide that. I'm not going to say they rip off any Sabbath riffs.
But you can't rip them off because they were the basis for all of it. You know?
Yeah. And I believe, and anybody can correct me on this if I'm wrong,
Right.
but in the 90s, Ozzy said that Sleep was like the most Sabbath-sounding,
Ozzy said that.
most Sabbath-sounding band he had heard either ever or in a while or up to that point.
And I could see that.
But I can see it also. You definitely can hear
Right.
the influence. But so they've got they name drop. They have a phrase in here: Sabbath day walks alone.
All right.
I
I'm
mean,
in.
what would you expect from a song named after their bass player?
I don't know, sir.
And then they say a phrase: Ionic Pentecost.
Ionic Pentecost.
Yeah,
Ionic Pentecost.
It sounds almost like a guitar scale.
It does, and it sounds like a offshoot of some sort of Christian religion.
Yeah.
Ionic Pentecost.
I think I would worship this religion because it sounds like a guitar scale.
Oh my God! All right, go on.
The bong is to live in.
That's probably the most accurate thing that band ever fucking wrote.
They say phrases like riff tree, and I believe it. A riff tree.
Riff tree.
Riff tree.
Riff tree. Okay,
one
so
word.
can we pause on?
I picked the fruit of the riff tree.
Okay, can we pause real quick and talking about getting lazy? If Sleep ever got lazy, riff tree.
No, I'm going to allow it.
I can't. Riff-filled land, I can go with. Riff tree? Why not the riff bush? Or the riff lawn? Riff tree?
I would also accept riff bush.
I'd rather have riff bush. Riff tree. I don't know why that bothers me, but it really does right now. Riff tree.
It doesn't bother me, but I think that's awesome.
I think that there was a lot of giggling after that line got wrote.
Yeah,
Let's see. Sure. Okay, Al, see if you could sing this with a straight face.
Yeah.
All right, go on, Riff Tree. All right.
Proceeds the creek hippie is another phrase in there.
See, I like that one.
Well, keep in mind that I'm also reading these out of order. I'm not reading them in the order they come in the song.
I like Proceeds the Creek Hippie. That one sounds pretty.
That one sounds pretty. But
I
riff
like
tree, fuck your riff tree.
I'm sorry, God damn it, Riff Tree.
Here's a good one. One. Here are two good ones, and please don't hold your stifled laughter to the end.
I'm making no promises.
Bong water of life anoints the Maud Doob Messiah.
All right, next.
No, that's it. Is that not the most sleep thing you've ever heard?
That is the most sleep thing I've ever heard, if not the most Bongzilla thing I've ever heard. Bong water of life. I can't even fault them for that.
It's awesome. Like I said, sign me up for this religion. Anoint my head in bong water.
Yeah, it's called Rasta.
Oh, don't get me started on Rasta and reggae. You can fuck right off with that.
But if there was ever a pot religion for metalheads, it would be sleep. Anointing you with
and that's fine.
But do you really want to be anointed with bong water, though? You ever tasted bong water? It's awful. Never got the blowback from hitting a bong?
I can't remember.
I can, and it's terrible.
It's been a while.
It's really terrible.
Maybe I should bottle it, sell it, drink more bong water.
No, you shouldn't. In fact, you shouldn't even really smoke out of a bong, because then you would be in outer space with sleep. And we have jobs, we have kids, we have wives.
That's fine.
No, all right, fine.
So
I'm sorry, a riff tree. I'm not giving that a pass.
Can't do it. Don't give it a pass.
You can anoint somebody with the bong water.
So as many times as I listen to this song, this next lyric line always pulls me back to reality, and I go, "What did I just listen to?"
Maybe I wrote it. All right, what do you got?
For some reason, it sticks out and it hits you like a hammer. The pterodactyl flies again. I don't know why, but every time he sings that line, I'm like, what?
I can see that because when you go to the song Dragonaut, there's such a vivid imagery of flapping your wings or whatever the fuck that you can kind of believe in a Dragonaut. Now, the pterodactyl flying
I can
again,
believe in a marijuana knot, too.
so can I. But, no, the pterodactyl flies again, I could see that just because it creates this whole thing of the pterodactyl's supposed to have been extinct, and yet it flew again. And you could see the pterodactyl flying above you. And imagining both the awe and the horror of seeing a pterodactyl fly above you. I'll give you that.
That's deep, man.
This is what I do. But, no, I could totally see that.
So then there's another one,
Oh, God,
which
there's more.
now that I've read it actually in context with the actual lyrics instead of listening to it,
Alright.
I don't. So like I always heard that he said something to do with CBD, but it says the CB deacon, the deacon of the church, the CB deacon.
Oh, Christ.
Marijuana is his light and his salvation.
Okay, let's really unpack devoting your life to marijuana to that much of a degree that I kind of gotta salute this.
Yeah, but you also have to understand, like, the narrative behind this, it doesn't make me believe that this is now. This is some kind of apocalyptic utopian landscape we're in.
See, to me, this
is like an alternate universe.
that's what I think, alternate universe. This isn't apocalyptic. This isn't utopia.
well,
This is another planet
Yeah, okay.
that somehow they got to on their marijuana spaceship, their smoke suits.
Right.
And I don't want to live on this planet.
Was the Dragonaut their spaceship?
I bet. Wasn't it the whole point of Dragonaut? They rode the Dragonaut?
Possibly.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, we can revisit that in a moment.
Yes, but yeah, I don't want to live on this planet because the whole overall feeling I had listening to this album, while it's musically great and just sucks you right in, is there was a feeling of uneasiness that I'll get to in my later notes. But what the hell track are we on? Oh, Giza Butler. Let's see. Overall favorite. Yeah, the next thought that I had was sleep is purgatory, which is uneasy, unsettling, but you know you have to finish the journey out. Now, if you know anything about purgatory, it's the land between heaven and hell or whatever, everything you have to go through to get to heaven and all this.
I'm aware. I watch Supernatural.
Yes, and I went to church. So, yeah, that's not Catholic, though, but that's where that comes from. Sleep is purgatory. It's this horrible, uneasy feeling.
Sleep is the person, your tour guide of purgatory?
Essentially, yes. It's the soundtrack of purgatory. It's just uneasy. You're there. You don't know if you feel good about it, but you know you got to see this through. So that was the one thought. And then, let's see. The song overall there's a lot more drive to this song and a lot of twists and a lot of turns, and hey, another solo. Those are the last of my thoughts on Giza Butler.
So here's the phrase I want to leave us all with before we skip to the next song, and I feel it's a very good ending point.
Yeah, I can't wait for this.
Bless the indica fields.
The indica. Is it indica or indica? I think it's indica.
Whatever.
But you bless the fields.
That's one of the lyrics.
I think that about sums it up.
I think it definitely. So that was that is a spiritual journey for sure.
And the damn thing is, the album really is. The song really is. But that was my overall favorite. So let's go to
The Botanist. And it's an instrumental, and what could be said about it is, well, it's awesome.
And that was my thoughts on this were clean break. Love this one. Guitar. This all sounds like small town Iowa the morning after a meth bender.
I have no opinion on meth benders.
Well, I do, and that's exactly what it sounded like to me. Was just not just after a meth bender, but being in small town Iowa after a meth bender. The sun is coming up. You're physically exhausted. You're mentally drained, but you can't go to sleep. You feel soiled, sore, and wrong, and you can't escape it. You're awake for this. That's what that song sounded like to me. And I will say, of all the titles on this album, The Botanist is probably my favorite. Because we know what the botanist is cultivating. We know what this is about, but they don't come right out and say, the marijuana grower. It's the botanist. So they add a little class to their pot smoking. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with a little class.
The botanist. Let's see. So my final thoughts were very atmospheric, a gradual come down, overall opinion, not casual listening, but an uneasy yet satisfying journey.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. I think it was very immersive.
Yeah, immersive. I like it.
Immersive, and if you're the spiritual type, it was a spiritual journey.
Right, if your religion is marijuana.
Hey, why not?
I don't know, because it's a plant.
But make you feel good.
I like the plant, don't get me wrong, and I see a lot of pluses to the plant, but I'm not going to build a shrine to said plant in my garage and worship.
But remember, we're in an alternate universe here.
Right, where that could be a thing. And if in that alternate universe...
You can worship a plant or the grower of a plant.
Well, and it's not too far out of a concept if you think about the fact that a smoke suit is getting you to said planet, and you're blessing the Indica fields.
Well, a rocket's getting you to the planet. But
I thought the Dragonaut got you to the planet.
I don't know. It said something about Saturn V.
Right.
Look, you're an astronaut in a smoke suit.
You're a Dragonaut and a marijuana knot.
Is space just filled with smoke? Is that why you need us? Or perhaps it's not filled with smoke, so you need a smoke-filled suit.
That's a very good question. I mean, does the suit protect you from the smoke, or does the suit hold in the smoke or take in the smoke?
So the way...
Or is the suit made of smoke, and that's the whole metaphor, is you're not actually going anywhere, you're just really goddamn stoned, surrounded by clouds of smoke?
Yeah, let's roll with that one.
I think that's probably it, because if
you're right. That is definitely what it is. We are inside the love machine, not driving, parked with the windows up.
I'm in the love... I don't want to be in the love machine
Sure
with
you
you,
do.
Chad.
Don't you remember Cheech and Chong? The car? That was the love machine.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I ever saw one of those movies the whole way through.
You're really missing out.
Am I? Apparently I am. All right. You pause this 1 second while I...
Yep. Piss break.
Yes, sir. Pull beforehand.
All right, before we move into Holy Mountain, let's did we listen to anything we liked? Anything cool?
What, this week or
Yeah,
recently?
this week or recently?
Literally, Chad, all I've been doing is revisiting old stuff that... There's literally nothing new that I like. I can't help it. I don't know if that's an age thing or the fact that music now really does suck, but I've just been going backwards and finding old weird songs that I liked a long time ago and rediscovering them.
So I tried to force myself out of the box.
All right.
Because I find myself also doing that.
Okay.
For some reason, all the old stuff is good and all the new stuff is a pile of shit. Right. So, not only did I completely step out of normal genres that I listened to, I found something new. So I listened to the new Run the Jewels.
Who the hell are Run the Jewels?
They're like a hip-hop group.
Oh, Christ. All right.
It's a black dude and a white dude, and the black guy's name is Killer Mike.
Oh, right. I saw him on Bill Maher.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Okay.
It was actually really good, and that's coming from a guy who never listens to hip-hop.
Right.
They were just angry, and it came across.
Sure.
It was great.
Well, and that... Tell you what, it goes to show that if you broaden your horizons a bit, you'll discover shit you might not have, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I saw, on Twitter and Instagram and stuff, some other people that I follow kind of were like, hey, check this out. And, some of them were like traditional metal fans and things. Okay. So I checked it out, and I liked what they had going on.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Is maybe I'm in the hole of social media in that. Of course, I'm on Facebook like every other idiot, but Twitter and Instagram, I'm not a part of.
Oh, I am.
It for me, it's just too damn much. It's enough that I get sucked into Facebook or even text messaging. That's as far as I'm willing to go. I can't let myself get any further into that than that. All right, warm gin time again.
And then I also, then I also listened to, you're well aware of the guy that had that artificial intelligence program that wrote an AC/DC song.
The fuck if that isn't in the top 5 AC/DC songs of all time.
Yeah, and that's really bizarre, huh? So the same guy also did one for Metallica.
Yeah, I saw that. What the fuck was that? Something ride something or
It was really good, is what it was.
I know he did a Chili Peppers one. It did a Nickelback one.
Well, see, I haven't got that far into the guy. I mean, I listened to his just those two,
right?
Because they struck a chord in me. But
of course.
So the Metallica one is called like Deliverance Rides.
That's it, Deliverance Rides.
And you know, it's good.
So I love the AC/DC one.
Oh, that was really good too.
What the fuck was like Poker Face on a French Maid or something like that?
I don't know, but it's
this is like actual kind of clever for whatever the fuck it was. But
well, for one, yeah, it's hilarious, it's clever, and it's good. It's not crap. And two, AI is scary.
Yes, that's the whole other thing about it is, yeah, it's very scary. But that's kind of where we're at right now is I think, honestly, we're so bored of ourselves. We're so bored of music that we're even giving a thought to listening to something that AI created.
Well, mostly the curiosity out of me was, is it going to do a good job?
Right.
And for the most part, yeah. I mean, you can kind of clean some of those lyrics up to make them a little more coherent, and it would be a solid song.
Right. And that's where, I know the Chili Peppers one, the great joke with that was, okay, how many times is California going to be mentioned in it?
Right.
And how do you not? But I guess lyrical devices. But yeah, the AC/DC thing it went somewhere I didn't think it was going to go. It actually kind of, well, like I said, it was sort of clever. You know, even Too Many Women with the Balls. It kind of makes you have to think about it for a minute.
Oh, it's great.
You know, story of my life. Too many women with the balls, man. But
so another thing I watched. It's not really news so much, but there's a new Bill and Ted movie.
Yeah, I saw.
I watched the trailer.
What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's going to be great.
I gotta say, yes, so do I. Because I mean, you have to take Bill and Ted for what it was, and of course, it's going to be great because they take the humor of, well, really taking the piss out of them that they're playing for 20 people for Taco Tuesday or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
But they still haven't written the great song or whatever the fuck it is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know though. I still think
I think it's really great that those two guys can step right into those characters.
And they do. That's the amazing thing.
Because think of it, like, you know, 90s Keanu Reeves.
Right.
Then look at all the blockbusters he's had since then.
Oh yeah, Matrix Speed and all that.
And he can just, hey, I'll just step right into this role again.
Right.
And it doesn't seem too cheesy.
No, oddly enough, that was the one.
It actually seems like it fits.
Oddly enough, that was one thing I thought was this isn't as cheesy as it should be. But yeah, so their whole thing is they got to write the greatest song in the world and all this shit.
Yeah.
And that's where you start diving into, have you listened to anything recent? And going back to when I was talking about that movie, The Apple, and the soundtrack to that, I'm convinced the song from that, Speed, is the song that Tenacious D sang about, the greatest song in the world. I really, truly believe that.
And my theory on that, the greatest song in the world, the tribute to the greatest song in the world, I think is Stairway to Heaven.
No.
Because, and you may not have picked up on this, but the chords in the greatest song in the world are the chords to Stairway to Heaven. Just strummed and
Holy shit.
And not picked.
Never clocked it, but you're right. But no, I still say the song Speed. If anyone's listening to this and feels like diving down the fucking rabbit hole of the movie called The Apple and look up the song Speed, it's horrible and it's obnoxious and you're going to hate it, but the fuck if you don't have it stuck in your head. Same with that Kim Mitchell song, Go for a Soda. Awful, nonsensical, but you're going to wind up singing it and you're going to wind up wanting to hear it again. Yeah, so Speed.
So another bit of music news. And I'm not going to divulge too much into it, but
All
there's
right.
a new Corey Taylor solo record.
Is there?
Yep. And it features a song he wrote when he was in high school.
No.
Do you remember when you were in high school or at the
Yes.
tail end of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather not, but yes. Nah, the songs I wrote in high school. Ugh. 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 Yeah. No, I don't even want to go back to that. I was a fucking moron who thought he was a genius. Jesus, I think I burned half of those notebooks, to be honest with you. But all right, so we're on the Sleep episode here, and we're diving into the album Sleep's Holy Mountain. So, any fun facts, tidbits, anything like that for you?
So,
From you, I should say.
I've heard that it is loosely based on a film called The Holy Mountain.
Huh.
That came out in the 70s, 73, I think.
Okay.
And a fun fact about that movie is that John Lennon and Yoko put up money for production.
I think that was John Lennon's heroin period.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really all I know about
Okay.
the movie, The Holy Mountain. I mean,
Right.
there's some... It's one of those psychedelic movies, but not in a good way psychedelic from what I hear.
Right,
I'm
right.
totally going to watch it, but that's
Well, now
for,
I have to.
that's for another time.
I tell you what, I'll watch The Holy Mountain if you watch The Apple.
Deal.
All right, deal.
So, another little fun fact is the song Dragonaut
All right.
was in the movie Gummo.
So was Some Grass.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Or at least Some Grass was on the soundtrack or something.
Right.
I know they were in the movie Gummo.
Yeah.
And if you've
Which-
ever seen that movie, Jesus.
And yeah, funny you mentioned Gummo because it really sets the tone for what it's like listening to Sleep, really.
I don't know, because I enjoy listening to Sleep and I don't enjoy Gummo.
Well, that's the damn thing is I enjoy listening to Sleep and I hated fucking Gummo. But the thing is I hated Gummo. Gummo, all right, so Kids was the inner city at its darkest.
Right.
And fucking Dumpster Humpers or Trash Humpers or whatever is the Deep South at its darkest. Gummo was the Midwest at its darkest. And I think the reason why it's so uncomfortable watching Gummo is because I've seen shit like this.
Yeah, I've seen these people. It
Yes.
really kind of, you feel dirty.
Yes, you feel god awful because when you're living it, you don't really think about it, but then you watch it in a movie like Gummo and you're like, oh my god, you know. But that's the whole thing is where there's a sort of discomfort in listening to Sleep like that. To where you watch Gummo and you just feel fucking awful, but you have to see it through to the end. It's kind of like that with Sleep.
I don't know. Sometimes you don't have to see it through to the end.
Well,
but
you do. You had to watch Gummo to the end, whether you liked it or not.
hey, it's been a very long time.
Yeah,
and
same here. I saw it once. I don't want to see it ever again.
that's a true statement.
Yeah, fucking, oh god, Gummo. But yeah, Dragonaut and Some Grass were both in that movie, and I think that to me kind of sets up what it's like listening to Sleep. I mean, although Sleep I would listen to again, and have. Gummo, no, I don't want to see that ever again because I lived it. I don't need to live relive that ever again.
I couldn't get over the dirty bathtub scene.
For me, it was as far as Gummo goes, how disturbing it got. Jesus, how do you pick a disturbing part? I mean, number one, the guy pimping out his mentally challenged sister. That was pretty fucking bad until you look back and you see what was going on in small towns that we lived in. But I think, oddly enough, the most disturbing thing to me was seeing Chloe, what's her name, getting dolled up wearing a Poison shirt from 1986 and not wearing it in an ironic way, but wearing it because she was going to go out and impress boys or whatever. That was probably the part that disturbed me the most because it really outlined just how behind the times the Midwest is. That this attractive female in this small town could wear a Poison shirt from 1986 and not think it was ironic and not try to be funny, but was like trying to impress somebody.
Yeah, I can think of loads of people that fit that description.
Yes, and the damn thing is I've seen these people. You know, that's what scares me. That's why that movie was so disturbing. But
I'm trying to figure. I don't know. I wouldn't have guessed they would have been on that. but Sleep as far as music.
Right.
But Dragonaut, let's jump right into this.
Yes. Dragonaut.
I love that riff. The beginning riff is just drips Black Sabbath.
It drips Pink Floyd.
Okay.
It sounds like Money.
I can see that.
The bass line. It sounds like Money, and that's the whole thing. Is like, that is the most deceptive opening song of any album. Because the song is catchy. All right? I mean, Christ, they made a video for it. It's catchy. But then you dive into the rest of the album, and it's not that fucking catchy.
But it's good. It's equally good, I think.
It's equally good. There's no doubt about that. But that is the hookiest song that band ever wrote and released. And I think my note on that was, catchy 70s hell, an unapologetic salute to the 70s. And then my next thought was, who was buying this in 1992? Could you really think
this was underground at the time.
Yes, that's the whole thing. Is think about the musical landscape in 1992 when grunge was the thing.
Grunge, yeah.
You listen to Sleep and put it in the context of 1992, nobody was fucking doing that. Nobody. At least nobody who had a major label back.
Caius?
Caius was doing a different version of it, though. Theirs was like 70s hot rod rock.
Yeah, yeah.
It was accessible. Or even Fu Manchu or bands of that nature. Nobody was doing the droning, unapologetic, bell-bottom 70s, stoned off your ass shit that Sleep was doing. I mean, Caius, yeah, they're called stoner rock or whatever the fuck, desert rock.
Rock.
But yeah, they were rock and roll, Sleep to me wasn't good time rock and roll. They were fucking Sabbath. They were doomed.
Very sludgy.
Yes, and that's what I thought about. And plus, they were kids.
Yeah, they were very young.
Yeah, they were that young in that period of time writing this shit. That's insane. So that's the context that I listened to this album with.
Yeah, also, and the lyrical content also. Like even way back then, Al was deep.
Yes.
Probably took a lot of mushroom trips.
Yeah, a lot of this does sound very psychedelic. Like beyond the realms of fucking getting stoned.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a cosmic dragon flying through space.
Right, but also think about this, though, too. That could also be other influences of maybe they're reading a lot of comic books.
Yeah, or playing some D&D.
Playing D&D or watching fantasy movies or whatever the fuck. They could have watched Lord of the Rings too many times while high.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how I thought about it. But
it goes so much deeper than like a Lord of the Rings fantasy world, I think. It's so much deeper.
Yeah, you're inventing your own fucking universe where there's a flying dragon going through space. But no, the next notes that I had just on Dragonaut were I'm as lost in this as I was in the sciences. And then this is where I said something to the effect of, in my opinion, they absolutely stole from the playbook of Master of Reality. When you listen to this album, there's so much Master of Reality in this album, as far as the whole Sabbath connection goes. Like, Dragonaut to me is so borrowed heavily from the song Lord of this World.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
and then, dun,
Yeah, it definitely has that sort of sway to it, doesn't it?
Yep, and then the song The Druid seemed reminiscent of Into the Void.
Okay, so almost immediately on that, when
Right.
the vocals kick in, because this song only has like 4 lines of vocals.
Yeah.
I thought early COC.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's where my mind started going, too, because COC was influenced heavily by, Sabbath or whatever.
Right,
But
yeah. So, like, as soon as the vocals kick in, I'm like, yeah, that's like some old school Pepper.
that is COC covering Lord of this World.
Yeah.
Because the way the vocals come into COC's cover of it is the same exact way the vocals come into Dragonaut.
Yeah, like real, that kind of raw back of your voice.
Yep. And the Druid, for whatever reason, the only note I had on that was Into the Void.
Yeah.
The real fast part.
Right. Yep. So I was trying to make sense of the 4 lines of lyrics.
Right.
It's about an evil druid that lives in an oak tower,
Okay.
and he channels the earth's power.
I like it. I didn't even clock that. I just wrote Into the Void.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah. In those 4 lines of lyrics, that's what it.
Well, that's pretty good.
You're. I think that particular portion of lyric is based on that movie, The Holy Mountain, because
All right.
sort of the plot of that has to do with like this guy seeking out an alchemist,
Yes.
and it's sort of like that's kind of the imagery I got on that song.
Okay.
You're walking up to the oak tower where the druid lives.
Well, almost, if you can get lyrical imagery, kind of like listen to the song Stargazer, Rainbow.
Right.
Yeah, that is a brilliant lyrical story in that you could picture everything that's going on. That I like. So I guess Why Can't Sleep do that? Especially with only 3 fucking people in the band. But, okay, so I went right to track 3, which was Evil Gypsy Solomon's theme.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out who the hell was Solomon in this. Is Solomon the character we're following through the narrative of these songs?
See, I don't know. I didn't even get that far into that. The first note that I made was the amazement that kids made this music.
Yeah, so if you listened, if you paid attention to the lyrics
Right.
of this particular song,
Okay.
at least what I think they are, and it gets weird, and this could be mushrooms
It gets weird.
or LSD.
Right.
So like I said, this song could be a euphemism for using.
Aren't they all?
Aren't they all? Or it's based on a really bizarre D&D campaign. It's an insect caravan that travels past a gypsy putting an ice curse on a village.
That's a lot to unpack.
It sure is.
I know. I guess the only other thought I had on the song was the backing vocals sounded like Pentagram.
Yeah.
There's one particular part where there's a high track and a low track, and I spent like 5 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck does that remind me of, and I was like, wait a minute, Pentagram from that song When the Screams Come. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, it's yeah, I could see that. But yeah, that's like I said, it's really bizarre if you try to pay attention to the lyrics. You've got an insect caravan traveling
Man, I might have to dive into that one
past
again.
a village. Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
different. So by the end of that,
Okay.
well, I don't know what your notes are.
That was the end of my notes.
okay.
That sounded like Pentagram.
So when some grass popped up, it's like you definitely needed that break.
Yes, and wasn't I saying that?
Yeah.
Because that was my favorite track on there because you just need that break.
You need that 43-second interlude of just kick-ass banjo playing.
Yep. And the only thoughts I had on that I wrote down were a much-needed break, even if it sounds uneasy for some reason.
It almost seemed out of place.
Yeah.
It was very bluesy banjo jam.
Yes, it sounded like there was a twang to it in a way that didn't make any sense in a doom metal album. But yeah, it was really just uneasy, almost like something you would hear if you were in Alabama and you had to stop and get gas somewhere.
Yeah, the dude outside the little convenience store.
Yes.
In the rocking chair playing the banjo.
Yes, or the fucking... Or like I was in Kansas when I had to stop and get gas on my way home from Texas and walk in there looking like me. And the farmer with his 10-year-old daughter pulling her the fuck away from this weirdo walking in the store. Yeah. Some grass. And that's what that felt like.
So right about here, I lost it. I just said, you know what? I'm going to stop taking notes, and I'm just going to let it consume me.
All right, so I kept taking notes, and if it makes you feel any better, though, whereas you stopped and just quit taking notes, that's where I had to stop for the night because I was so mentally exhausted from, well, once again, this journey that I couldn't keep my eyes open. I couldn't even keep my ears open. I couldn't write anything down, just going, Jesus, I'll just finish this tomorrow when I'm clear-headed. And that was almost more exhausting. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun's blazing and your kids wonder, well, what are you listening to? Doing homework. Go play. Yeah, I had to try and take notes on that. But I guess my final thought on Some Grass is the most obvious one. It was absolutely lifted from Orchid and Embryo.
Yeah, definitely has that format to it.
And that's why many people have said this was the long-lost Sabbath album that never got recorded or whatever. It's because they clearly, whether consciously or subconsciously, lifted from, as far as I'm concerned, Master of Reality.
Yeah, I heard a lot of I heard a spattering of different Sabbath, but mostly Master of Reality.
It seemed to me based on almost entirely on that album, which great album. What better are you going to learn from? But yeah, Some Grass just reminded me of both Orchid and Embryo, which, okay, so track 5, Aquarian. The only thing I wrote about it was it had a catchy intro.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good song, actually.
A very good song. But yeah, the only thing that stood out to me was a really catchy intro.
Right. So
let's go to...
So the lyrical content of this song...
Oh, all right.
It's not because I'm taking notes. It's because I'm reading the lyrics right now.
You know what? It's just as well. I got nothing else on this.
It's about essentially being trapped in Atlantis.
The Lost City.
The Lost City.
Hence Aquarian. All right. Okay.
Right. Or escaping from it with the help of the clergy and a magic potion.
Okay.
Mushrooms and D&D, my man.
Yeah, I was gonna say they were either into one or the other or both, because I couldn't conjure this shit just stoned.
Yeah. Weed alone won't let you write about being in Atlantis.
No, it all depends on what your secondary interests are. And yeah, if they were playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, that would make sense. But if they weren't, well, pop some mushrooms and I don't know. This is the one thing I never did was fucking psychedelics, but I could see that working for them really well.
Yeah.
But they never spoke of taking psychedelics. Well, then again, if you look at the cover of Holy Mountain,
yeah, there's a lot going on there.
There's a mushroom popping up in there.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. Okay, mushrooms. I can buy that. Any other thoughts on Aquarian then?
No. Like I said, I trailed off for the next couple of songs and I just listened.
Okay, so let's go to I think this is the one I took the most notes on.
Title track, Holy Mountain.
Yeah. All right, first note, the pike chord. The open E. And then the next thought was you could really hear the youth in Al's voice. He sounds like a kid in this one, as opposed to how he'd sound much older. This is like, okay, these were evidently kids doing this.
Right.
But god damn did they create some masterwork. But yeah, you can hear the youth in Al's voice, and then I started writing down lyrics. Reptile Master stood out to me.
Yeah, so the Reptile Master, are we referring to the Dragonaut?
I don't know. I just heard Reptile Master, and then the next line that stood out to me was Starless Sky Above. And then right after that it was, let's take a trip, kids. But yeah, that's the whole, and that was where it really hit me even clear head. It's like, God, these guys are geniuses of just taking you to a place, There's a Reptile Master somewhere and you're in a starless sky above. You're out in space.
Yeah, so they also says, man on the mountain sets free the holy dove. I think that's another reference to that Holy Mountain movie.
I like it, though.
And also they say Sonic Titan, which is actually a track off the Sciences. So.
Yes, okay, I do remember hearing that. Let's see, next notes were clean break and bluesy leads. That was the stuff I liked about that song, was they kind of took you away from the just that droning shit, and you would get into just the bluesy stuff. And that's where, you start to see that Matt Pike had a bluesy influence to him.
Yeah.
Because you think of Matt Pike, or at least when I would initially think of Matt Pike, I just thought the 8-string guitar overdriven to beat all hell and just fucking hammering a goddamn E chord over and over. And maybe a couple of noodly solos, but it's like, no, he really could play.
Oh, yeah, he definitely plays all the Sabbath chords.
And he could play tastefully, It's like, I'm digging this stuff and going, yeah, keep this up. But that's the thing about Sleep, is they weren't going to keep that shit up for long. Eventually, Pike could come in and just fucking pummel you. But then they'd go back to the clean stuff. That was where this album really worked for me. So, track 7, Inside the Sun. These are my notes on it. All right, picking up speed. So yeah, they up tempo, and then the next note was, this is what's needed right now. Because they had droned, and all of a sudden they're playing fast. And that was perfect. Whereas Some Grass was the break that you needed from it. This, to me, was the change that you needed from it. It picked it back up. And, of course, the next note was, it's into the void again. Because it reminded me so much of that. And let's see. And now we're being pummeled. Which was Matt Pike hitting the fucking heavy shit again. And then the next note was, there is serious metal to this breakdown. There was one breakdown they did that was just fucking heavy and can only be described as metal. Then they go into what I think was the bass solo, because I wrote jazzy breakdown. And then you're right back to a metal solo. And then my next note was, I think this is my favorite track. And I truly believe it is. The last 4 lines, though, were what I called a brilliant ending. Something of, God, what the fuck is? Our spaceship is gone, our work here is done, our bodies are now inside the sun.
Close, but yeah. Basically, that's when you said the song has momentum.
Right.
It's because it's like the song is about traveling towards the sun.
Yep.
And yeah, I definitely felt that too. I wouldn't say it's my favorite track, but it's definitely up there.
Right. That was the one that it stuck with me because it was up tempo for one thing, and it had enough of the fucking different jazzy breakdowns and shit like that. You know, you had the pummeling, but then you had the easing of it again. And then, yeah, the last 4 lines hammered home the point. However ridiculous it was, it still hammered home the point and stuck with it. We flew into the sun, we're dead, but we accomplished our mission, which, why I'm even talking about this with a fucking inkling of seriousness shows you how great this band really was at doing what they did.
Oh, yeah. Because remember, we're still in an alternate universe.
Yes, and they sucked me right into their goddamn story.
Yeah, so much so we're taking it serious.
Yeah, and this was at 3 in the afternoon in Clear Lake, Iowa.
Yeah.
You know? So that's pretty goddamn good. All right, so track 8, From Beyond. These are my notes on this. Another calm intro. We're back to Riffland, not the tree.
Picking the fruit from the riff tree.
Christ. And then, let's see. Groove, dig. Then spacey. And then the line planetoid. And then there was a vocal echo to it. And then, let's see, my next note was, and I quote, ooh, a clean bluesy lead break. And then, that didn't last long. And then, distorted bluesy lead now. I don't know, there's a lot of different parts to it that kept my attention.
Yeah, a lot of layers.
Yes, and I liked that.
Good ones, good layers.
Yep.
I don't know, the lyrical content of this song is kind of weird also. It just seems
I didn't even get into the lyrics. I couldn't. What do you got?
It's like, so the previous song, they exploded their spaceship into the sun.
Into the sun.
So this is like, I don't know, maybe whoever we're talking about here. I'm not sure who our main character is on this journey.
Probably the marijuana nuts.
Maybe it's me. You're like a damned soul. There's a phantasmal specter, like you said, planetoid, soaked in the rays of electric light.
Electric light.
Yeah, a lot of really cool buzzwords to get your imagination going.
Right, electric light. You throw electric into anything, and somehow it works.
Yeah.
Electric light. I like it. Okay, so then the last track, or the last official track, I should say, was Nain's Baptism.
Nain's Baptism? Also an instrumental.
Yep. I described this as a Sabbath intro on cough syrup. And that's what it feels like. It's Sabbath. You know it's Sabbath, but Jesus, is it fucking just sludged.
Yeah.
And the only way you can really describe it is if you've ever drank a bottle of codeine cough syrup in one shot.
I have not, but I know what
and it's awesome.
I know what codeine does to me, and it is it's the quicksand song.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm pissed off that I still can't buy Cheritosin. What? Buy it every other week. You're good to go. But yeah, Sabbath intro on cough syrup, and then the next one was. The Rickenbacker tone really shines through on this one.
Oh, yeah, it's very warm.
Yep. What?
I like it. Like I keep saying, I get submerged in the music, and it's definitely the bass that does it.
Absolutely. To me, the Rickenbacker tone I never thought of as warm. I thought of it as like if you put piano strings on a bass. There's a certain brightness to it. I don't know how to describe. You're a musician. You could describe it better than I could, but like Chris Squire of Yes, you knew fucking goddamn good and well he played a Rickenbacker.
Yeah,
because you knew that tone.
Same with Geddy Lee
on those first couple Rush albums.
First couple records.
Yeah, the Rickenbacker tone cannot be faked. You either have it or you don't. And that's where I heard the Rickenbacker tone on that track. That's where it was the most obvious. But let's see. Yeah, the last thing I had on this one was it's interesting choice of notes or whatever. If not just slow. I mean, they take their goddamn time making their point, but you will wait for them to make their point. And that's what I like about it. And then now this wasn't on the official album, but this was on the album that I found was their cover of Snowblind.
Yeah, see, so the version of this I listened to was like a remastered copy, and I did not get to hear this song.
You didn't?
No, and I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay, well
and I'm kind of excited to because Snowblind, for whatever reason, is one of my favorite Sabbath songs.
See, and here's the weird thing is it's not one of my favorites, which you think it would be considering the subject matter, but I never did care for the do the playing notes as opposed to chords. That never grabs me when it comes to that. Kind of the same with the Pantera song Hard Lines and Sunken Cheeks. That intro, I don't like that intro. That's all personal taste though, but no, their cover is Snowblind. My thoughts on that were it starts out with a snorty. Are we pausing? What happened? Oh, carry on. All right, so anyway.
Technical ecstasy happened.
Oh, mother glory. All right, so yeah, Snowblind.
I think we barely heard your big snort. I think it cut off as you were.
All right, well, we'll try this again. Okay, so Snowblind. Of course, it starts off with a snorting noise effect, in case you were wondering by now what this song is about. Like the bong rip in front of the marijuana knot. Yeah, have the snort in there, because this is what it's about. All right, so my thoughts on it were it was a faithful cover. They didn't do what goddamn System of a fucking Down did with their cover of it, which was horrible. No, it was a faithful cover, and it to me was Ozzy sounding vocals that didn't try to sound like Ozzy. Basically, Al sung in a bit of a higher register, but because that's what the song called for, but he wasn't going out of his way to sound like Ozzy, but it still sounded kind of like Ozzy. So somehow that worked. And then let's see, the next thought was, this beats the ever-loving hell out of that System of a Down cover. Which it does. All right, the Nativity in Black 2, let me dive into that real quick.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the fucking Pantera was on there, and of course they were awesome. But it seemed to me literally every other band on there was like, okay, we're in the nu metal era, so let's capitalize on that and just fuck up every one of these goddamn songs. And System of a Down to me was the worst of them.
I don't remember it being that bad.
Oh, I do. Which, okay, so you take track one, which was
I'm Googling as we're talking.
No, that's fine. But no.
I want to you know what? Maybe I didn't listen to this one.
It sucked. It was
I
fucking
believe
horrible.
I had the first one.
I had them both, and I pawned them both off. But yeah,
I may have given it a quick listen.
That was about all you needed.
So we've got Godsmack, Machine Head, Static X, Megadeth, System of a Down, Pantera, Primus with Ozzy, Slayer, Soulfly, Head PE, Monster Magnet, Busta Rhymes. I remember that one.
Yep.
I Hate God.
I Hate God was on there?
Yeah, they did Cornucopia.
They weren't on the disc I had. Boy, I'd love to hear that. Because I could see that working. But just that whole thing was, the worst part is Godsmack didn't do a bad job. Not a band I'm a fan of by any stretch, but they were faithful to Sweetleaf. Machine Head, this was right before Rob Flynn decided that, yeah, I do in fact play thrash metal. He was still trying to do like nu metal, modern shit with it.
Right.
And it was just wrong. God, what the fuck was the next one?
Static X did Behind the Wall of Sleep.
Yes, because they took all the heavy out of Behind the Wall of Sleep and made it a fucking disco tune.
Now I'm going to have to listen to this and see what I'm not missing.
You almost have to just to hate that era even more than you already do. Yeah, Static X decided to make fucking Behind the Wall of Sleep a Static X song, as if Sabbath never wrote it. do 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 do. You fucking shut up.
Gee, hey, tell us how you really feel about Static X.
God, you know what? Nothing against what they were doing, because they did what they did and they did it well. But it's like, quit trying to put your own personal stamp on fucking classics, and not even retaining what the song was. Fucking yeah. So System of a Down does Snowblind. Now, and I don't care what kind of flack I get for this. Fuck that band. And fuck that singer. If I wanted to hear the Talking Heads, I would listen to the Talking Heads. I don't need to listen to this goofy bastard who can't decide if he's goofy or dead serious about the injustices of the world. You're not selling me on either of them. I just fucking hate you. And they did that with Snowblind. What you get it? What you see? Cocaine. Fuck off. No. It was horrible. It was god-awful. And that's really all I have to say about anything on that album. It was all summed up by System of a Down, which, God, we could unpack that band and I could go for hours. Your name's System of a Down. What does that mean? For starters. And then
Wait, are we getting into this?
I think we almost have to.
Oh, no. Let's divert our attention. Let's go
back to
Megadeth did Never Say Die.
Okay, and that was faithful, and that was good. Because Dave Mustaine was sounding like Dave Mustaine, and they played it awesome. That was good. Okay, fine, that was good. That one was good.
I'm just save your rage for System Put Down for another day.
All right, go on.
Yeah, we got NIB with Primus.
That was kind of cool.
I remember that being mildly faithful.
That was kind of cool because you had Les Claypool playing the wah bass, which Geezer did. Mm-hmm. That worked. Oddly enough, that worked. Probably because Ozzy sang it.
Right.
But no, that one worked. I actually liked that one. I'll give you that one.
Slayer did Hand of Doom.
Yeah, and I hated it.
And I like I said, I don't think I've heard that.
I'll tell you why I hated it, because you remember how we were talking earlier how the genius of Ozzy was that he could pick out melodies
right
against all this heavy shit? Slayer is meat and potatoes, pummeling, no bullshit. And they took any semblance of anything, I guess, that could have been a hook with Hand of Doom, which you're going to get when Ozzy sings it, and just stripped it all away. There was no dynamic to it. Absolutely none. And plus, they cut out the lyrics of, God, what the fuck was it? God, what is that part of the song? You know you must be blind to do such things as this. They didn't even sing the lyrics.
Do you think Tom Araya forgot them?
No, I just think he didn't want to. I think they didn't even sing the lyrics to that. They played it instrumentally and then go into that, you're having a good time. And Tom couldn't even be bothered to sing Baby. You're having a good time. And that's literally all it was. No dynamic. I hated it. Go on.
Oh, so Soulfly did Under the Sun.
That one was kind of cool.
Because I like that song. Sabbath, right?
I liked what Soulfly did with it because while you had Cavalera doing his usual barking, they put the percussion in.
Right.
During the last verse set.
Well, didn't they do... No, was it Sepultura?
Sepultura did Symptom of the Universe and fucking slayed it.
Yes.
God, that was awesome.
Because back to an earlier conversation we had about Tony Iommi and acoustic guitar.
Yeah, and they played it.
They did.
Yeah, and it was brilliant.
Was awesome.
But yeah, the Behind the Sun or whatever the hell it was.
Under the Sun?
Under the Sun. They put like the Brazilian percussion in during the last verse. And god damn it, it worked. So that one was pretty cool.
Like I said, I'm going to have to give this a listen because I don't recall ever really listening to it all the way through.
It wasn't that great, but we'll give it another listen, see what you think.
Yeah, well, I kind of stay away from cover compilations because of what 6 Feet Under did to me.
Hey, I'm sorry, but their fucking Back in Black rendering is the most unintentionally hilarious fucking album of all time.
Yeah.
It was, goddamn.
But the thing is, they were trying to be serious.
I don't think they were. I think Chris Barnes...
I refused to think that jackass is anything but serious the time.
See, and I don't believe that, because do you know what his favorite band is?
I have no clue.
The Grateful Dead.
I find that hard to believe.
Don't. He's also an unapologetic stoner. I think think about it. How serious are you when you're writing a song like Entrails Ripped from a Virgin's Cunt? You tell me you're not laughing a little bit when you write that?
I don't know. Some of those real black metal bands that write lyrics like that are pretty serious about it.
Those are also the guys that aren't smoking a lot of pot and aren't getting fucking 200 gauge fucking holes in their ears and shit. I think Chris Barnes is a classic rock fan. I think he's stoned off his ass, and I think he's in on the joke. I really do. In fact, I think he was probably laughing his ass off when whoever the record company was agreed to let this band record a release Back in Black in its entirety.
How did we get here? How did we get from Sleep to 6 Feet Under?
We ended on their last track, their Black Sabbath cover.
Man, that's true. Let's go back to Sleep.
All right. So anyway, so after the System of a Down rant, let's see. The first solo in the song I felt was well executed. It was pretty well faithful. And then I thought it was an interesting interpretation of the fade out solo.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which it wasn't a note for note thing, but it kept faithful to it. So my final thoughts on Sleep were they're an uneasy journey that sucks you in, keeps you on its path, then lures you to experience once again as you're all but forgotten how it felt when you were there. In other words, it's a perfect dope metaphor. That's how I feel about Sleep. They are the musical equivalent of getting high. You get high, you're in the headspace of your high, whatever your high is. And then once it's done, you kind of forget what it felt like, so you go to experience it again. That's Sleep to me. There aren't a lot of hooks to their music, but you just know there's an overall vibe that worked, and you want to feel it again. They're a perfect dope band, because that's what doing dope is. You know, you get high, you know it felt good, but you can't really explain why it felt good, so you go back and do it again. Forget about it and go back and do it again. That's Sleep. That's their albums to me.
Yeah, so when I leave here tonight, I'm definitely going to put Sleep back on and listen to it again.
Right.
And then a mental note for myself is I have to torture myself and listen to Nativity in Black too.
I'm not going to, because
I don't expect you to, but I definitely have to hear this.
I did enough time on that. No,
and how did I let it slip through my fingers for so long?
You probably heard it and went, fuck this. And
you're right. I probably heard a single off of it. Oh, I remember the Iron Man Busta Rhymes thing, and I probably went, you know what? Not for me.
No, and it's not for you. But no, along the lines of Sleep, though, I think what I'll probably do when I get home is crack a book and put on the Sciences again.
Yeah, I believe that's what's playing in my car when I start it up.
Well, that's what will be playing when I get home, because that's the goddamn thing about it, is the whole time I was listening to it, it was very almost excruciating of, Jesus, when is this song gonna end so I can get to the next one and everything else. But
how do you think the two albums compare?
They're almost apples and oranges, but I think if you're going to sum them up, my opinion anyway, is I think it's a question of youth and maturity. Holy Mountain is a bunch of kids who had genius ideas and the ability to execute them, but there's still a youthful exuberance to it.
Yeah, I don't want to say it sounded rough around the edges, because it all kind of sounds rough around the edges.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I would agree with that, the youthfulness of it.
Right. Holy Mountain was like a bunch of kids let loose in a candy store, only it was a riff store.
It was
say the riff tree, I dare you. Say the fucking riff tree. But no, it just seemed to me like what my headspace would have been like at that age, with a record contract and a bunch of weed and just all these awesome influences, basically blocking out everything that was happening in 1992 and just listening to music from the 70s. What can I create that's going to be on par with this, or that's going to make me happy? That's what I heard with that. It was just youthful exuberance, and not giving a fuck. Whereas the Sciences to me was, these guys have lived all this, they've done all this. Now we're going to make the album we really want to make. And I don't mean Dope Smoker an hour of this shit. I think that was their middle finger to all of it. The Sciences...
Well, yeah, as far as, like, record companies go. I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, it didn't get released for, 10 years, something like that?
There were, like, hacked-up versions of it and different versions of it. And, yeah, it took a long time. And I want to say they still aren't happy with...
No, they're not.
With the version that everyone accepts.
No, I think Matt Pike has gone on record as saying that it was so excruciating to put together that it was never going to be perfect. Not to his liking, but the Sciences to me was the band that had the reputation that they did, had the sound that they did, and said, all right, we can now do whatever we want, and we're going to do what we want, and this is what we want. That's why the songs are all like 10 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all that drone, and they're all that, they take 10 minutes to get to the first verse.
I don't know. I see, yeah, they have that droning element, but they also have something else.
They have,
and they have a perfect mix of it, whatever it is.
I'll tell you what it is. They have, whether anybody likes it or not, they have hooks. They're buried. They take forever to get to them, but there is a hook in there somewhere that keeps you mentally on the path.
Immersed and engaged.
Yes, that's the genius of sleep. That's what they do. That band was Sun O or Sun or whatever.
I think they're just called Sun.
Yeah, the proper pronunciation is Sun. I call them Sun O because that's what it fucking looks like, Sun O.
Hey, don't add another letter and a bunch of parentheses if you don't want me to pronounce them.
Thank you. Exactly. But yeah, Sun is a brilliant drone band. Goddamn brilliant. But unless you are smoking out of a coconut, a pound of fucking weed, and you go into it knowing that that's what your experience is going to be, you're not going to be engaged in that at home. No, there's got to be something else that kind of keeps you there.
Well, let's just say my experience with it is I got bored easy. I'm not saying it's not good. I start it and then I don't finish it.
Right, and that's where sleep will have you on the brink of that. They had me on the brink of it several times. It's like, all right, when is this going to end?
See, I liked listening to it while I was at work because I have nowhere else to go.
Right. And for me, sitting at home after everybody's asleep or whatever, yeah, I have nowhere else to go either. But a band like Sun is not going to keep me engaged. I'll get bored of it, shut it off, and go to the garage and have a cigarette or something. Sleep, they would just keep doing, and I'd be right on the edge of shutting it off. And then they'd pull you back. That's the genius of that band. That's why you'll endure a Sleep album. Because mentally, you're going to know that something's going to bring you back. You don't know when it's going to hit. You think it's never going to hit, but then it does. That's the genius of that band, in my opinion.
Perfect. Let's wrap this up. Do you think we got anything else to add? I think we've said all we could say.
I think we have. Do we do any shout-outs to anybody or anything like that?
I don't have anyone to shout out, but yeah.
All right. Well,
shout out whoever you want.
No, I guess for my part, I gotta say hello to the girls if they're listening. Nicole, Annie, love you. I'll be home soon. Shout out to my friend Chancey here. We'll be taking notes soon, and if we need any editing help, you'll be the first I call. Shout out to my friend Janice, who encouraged me to do this, and you're gonna know as soon as it's up. And all the good people out there, all I can say is hasta.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us rant and rave about everything we rant and rave about.
It's passion, and this is what we do.
Good night.
Hasta.
Sleep tight.
Hasta.